Thank you very much. Let me welcome you to Mason African Motives. Uh, we are on accounting grade 12, term 1 revision. And today we are on activity 3. We are on activity 3. So we are going to treat the activity 3. So let's go straight to the activity. So here we are on activity 3, which is all about SARS or income tax. So one can want to know about what is this SARS. So SARS is South African Revenue Service. So it is the tax authority in South Africa. Is the tax authority in South Africa. So the income tax is a tax on individuals and business earnings, like salaries, wages, or profits. So SARS collects this tax and use it for government spending, like infrastructures, healthcare, and education. So you pay income tax based on your taxable income, and SARS handles assessments, returns, and payments. So that is that. So that is all about SARS or the income tax. So now let us go to the activity. It says the SARS or income tax account of Samset Ltd was drawn up for the financial year ended 28 February 2019. This is our financial year end. So required now. Answer the following questions in the answer book. 3.1. Supply the reason for the debit entry on the 25 March 2018. So you have to give the reason for debit entry on the 25 March 2018. So this is what they're talking about, 25 March 2018. So that this debit entry, you have to give what? The reason for it. 3.2, give the possible transaction for debit entry on the 31st of March. So we're talking about this 31st of March. So you are to give possible transaction for that. 3.3, what was the total income tax expense of Samset Ltd for the current financial year? So we are asked about what? The total income tax from this information that is given. 3.4, calculate the South African Revenue Service SARS or income tax on the 28th February 2019. Show your workings. Very important. Show your workings. Refer to the balance calculated in 3.4. Indicate whether this balance is current assets or a current liability. Show the effect on the accounting equation of the transaction on the 28th February 2019 for 75,500, this amount, and complete the table in the answer book. So these are the questions that you are going to go through. So here are the information, the general ledger of Samset Ltd, balance sheet section, and then we have what? SARS income tax account. So we have debit as well as credit. So that is that. So now let us do or give answers to those questions asked. So now we are going to go to our answers. Now we are to answer these questions. We are to answer this question. So we are going to say, we are going to start with 3.1. So we are going to say activity 3, which is all about SARS or income tax. So we're going to start with what? 3.1. So if you can still remember, 3.1 is all about supply a reason for debit entry on 25 March. But before we can supply or give the reason, all we have to understand about the SARS or income tax ledger is about SARS or income tax is a liability account. Let us know that it's a liability account. So when the company owes SARS, it has what? A credit balance. You know the liabilities has what? Credit balance. But when the company pays SARS now, the account is debited. Get that straight? At, at year end, the income tax is credited to SARS. Hope you understand. So now let us attend to a question now. 3.1, where we are to supply the reason for debit entry on the 25 March 2018, sorry. So now we have to give what? The reason for that. So the reason for the debit entry on the 25 March, which is this. Here is our debit entry on 25 March. Hope you can see it. Here is debit entry on 25 March of 12,000. So now we want to know that. What is the reason? We have to supply what? The reason. So if you look at the opening balance on the 1st March 2019, the opening balance, which is this one, of 12,000. The balance is on the credit side. So a credit balance now in SARS means the company owned SARS 12,000, which is this one. So the company owned SARS 12,000 from the previous year. So looking at the 25 now of March, 25 March on 2018, then we have a 12,000 on the debit side. So bank appears on the debit side for 12,000. So when we debit SARS, we are reducing the amount owed. This amount owed here on the credit side, which is 12,000. Why? Because the company is paying SARS. So the reason is that the company paid the income tax of 12,000 that was owed from the previous financial year. That is our reason. The company paid the outstanding income tax of 12,000 that was owed from previous financial year. From the previous financial year. So that is the answer for 3.1. When we were asked to supply reason for debit entry on 25 March, which is this one. Why is it on the debit side? Is because the company paid the outstanding income tax of 12,000. So it shows that the payment was made to SARS. So that's what it means. So now let us go to 3.2. Now let us go to 3.2. So here is our 3.2. 3.2, remember, it says, give a possible transaction for debit entry on the 1st August 2018. So here is 2018 August 1st, 31st August 2018. So we are to give the possible transaction for the debit entry of this March, of this amount, 30,000. So that is that. So Now we are to answer that question. We are now to answer that question. We are now to answer that question. So we are going to say 3.2. We're going to say 3.2. So here we are on 1st August. On the 31st August, bank appears on the debit side again. Here it is. Bank appears on the debit side again, just like on 3.1. So what is asked is that, what is the reason for that? So this means that the company paid SARS. Okay, this means the company paid SARS. They paid professional tax of 30,000. So we are just saying it shows that they paid professional tax of how much? Of 30,000. That is that. So this means the company paid SARS. During the year, the companies do not wait until year end to pay tax. They make professional tax. So that is that. They make what? The professional tax payments. So these are usually paid end of August or end of February. So this simply says the 30,000 was paid. Professional was paid as a professional income tax payment made during the year. Hope we are together on that. So now let us go to 3.3. Now we are on 3.3. So 3.3, here we are on 3.3, which says, what was the total income tax expense for the Samset Ltd for the current financial year? Now we want what? The total income tax expense. So that is that. So now we have to calculate the total income tax expense. Hope we are together on that one. 3.3. Yeah, 3.3. The total income tax expense for Samsung Ltd for the current financial year. So if you can look here, if you can go straight there, you can see that the total income tax, which is on the 28th February 2019, is 75,500. This is our total income tax. So hope you understand it. This is our total income tax. So now we come here and write that answer. So our total income tax is what? How much? It's 75,500, which is on the credit side, because this is the amount the business owe what? This has. That is why it's here on the credit side. So hope we understand. Hope we understand. Now let us move on to 3.4. Let us move on to 3.4. So here we are on 3.4. 3.4 says, calculate the balance of SARS or income tax on 28 February. Show your workings. So now we are to answer our 3.4. That is that. What we are going to do is that we are going to add credit side amounts owed. Credit side amounts owed. So you can see the credit side is what? 12,000 plus 75,500. 12,000 plus 75,500. So we are going to add them. So we are going to do like this. For 3.4. So here we are on 3.4. So we are going to add credit side for amounts owed. We're going to say add credit side. So that means, so that is the first step that we're going to do. Step one, we're going to say add credit side for amounts owed. Amounts owed. So that is that. So we know the amounts that we owed, that is the opening balance of March 2019 of how much? Of 12,000 plus the income tax of 28 February 2019. So we're talking about this income tax. So how much was in the income tax? 75,500. So all this will give us the total amount that should have been paid, which amounts to 87,500. So this is the amount that should have been paid. So that is that. Then we move on to our step two. So on our step two now, step two. So step two, you add debit side. Add debit side for payments paid or payments made or payments made. So we know on the 21st March 2019, the payment that was made was for 12,000. So we're going to say 12,000 plus on the 31st August 2018, there was a payment of what? 30,000. And on the 27th February 2019, there was a payment of 55,000. These are the payments that we made. So we add these three and then we get 97,000. 97,000. So this amount, 12,000, is this one. If you can go here, you can see 21st March, the payment that was made was 12,000. As 31st August 2019 fell, 30,000, 55,000, which was paid in 27 February 2019. So these are these amounts that we're talking about. So these are the total payments made. These are the total payments made. So now coming to the step three. So step three, this is where now we are going to pay the totals now. We're going to compare the totals. We know very well that the payments made is how much? Is 97,000. And amount owed? Amount owed is, so the amount owed is equal to 87,700. 87,700. So, meaning we are going to subtract 87,500, which is the amount owed from the payments made. So what you're going to do, we're going to say 97,000 minus 87,700. So that is what we're going to do. And this will give us the balance of 9,500. 9,500, which is going to be on the debit side. Which is going to be on the debit side. So we're going to have balance on February 2019, 9,500. So this is this is the calculations for 3.4. These are the calculations for 3.4. So if we can look at this, if we can come to our information here on the table, while at least we are still on 3.4, you can now want to know Why was 50,000 paid? This one. Why was this 50,000 paid? The reason why the 50,000 was paid is that company do not want to wait until year end to pay tax. Because we are saying why 55,000? Why at least the income tax is what 7,500. And during the year we paid what? This 30,000. So you can see when we say 75,000 but minus 30,000 is going to give you something like 45,000. So why did we pay this much, 55,000? It's because that the company do not wait until year end to pay tax. They pay professional tax during the year. First professional pay, usually they pay end of August. The second professional payment, usually end of February. So these payments are based on estimated profit at that time. So the final tax is not yet known, which is this one. It's because the final tax is not yet known. So they make what? The estimation, the payments are based on estimation. So we know that now final tax, the actual expense is this much, 7,500. But February, the company must estimate what the total tax for the year will be. So if the estimated is too high or the estimation is high, they might pay more. Like now they make this estimation and that is why they pay more. That is why the 9,500 now is what is on the debit side, and you can see it's more because you can see this is 9,500, our whereas our income tax, the final one is 75,500. So this means that this is amount is it's high. We paid more. So it means there is a tax refund that the SARS is going to refund what the business. It's going to refund what the business. Hope you are together. We are together on that. Hope you understand that. We can see that payments are more than what is owed. That is true. The payments are more than what is owed because we can see these are our payments. They are more than what is owed. We owed this much, but we paid this much. So this means there is what a tax refund that the company is going to get. Hope we are together on that 3.4. So now we have to move on to 3.5. We are to move on to 3.5. So let's come to 3.5. So here we are on our 3.5. So 3.5 says, refer to the balance calculated in question 3.4 above. Indicate whether this balance is current assets or current liability. So that is the question. So now we're talking about what the classification. Since it is a debit balance, the company overpaid what? Tax. So SARS owes the company 9,500. Because of what? The company overpaid tax of how much? 9,500. So the refund that the company is expecting is 9,500. SARS owes what? The company 9,500. So the question was, is this current assets or current liability? So it is what? Current asset. So 3.5, the answer is current assets. So we are going to say current assets. So we're going to say current assets. So that's that. So now we have to move on to question 3.6. 3.6. So let us go to 3.6. So here we are on 3.6. So 3.6 is all about show the effect on the accounting equation of the transaction on the 28th February 2019 of for 75,500. Complete the table in the answer form. So we have to show the effect on the accounting equation. So now let us put that on accounting equation. So here we are on 3.6. 3.6. So 3.6 is all about what? Accounting equation. So we are going to say account debited. Let me put it this way. We're going to say account debited, account credited, account credited, and we are going to say the amount. And then we are going to say assets, owner's equity, as well as liability. So this is what you're going to do. Then you're going to do it like this. So this is how you're going to do it. So this is how we're going to do it. So account to be debited now. For this question, as we're asked to show the effect on the accounting equation of the transaction on 28 February 2019 for 75,500. This amount of what? Of income tax. So that is that. So we are going to debit income tax because income tax is an expense. So we know very well that expenses have what? Have debit balance. So we are going to debit what? Income tax because it's an expense. Income tax. So account to be credited is what? SARS. We're going to say SARS income tax. So because we know that we owe SARS, so we know SARS has what? Credit balance. They have what? Credit balance. SARS have credit balance. So the amount is 75,500. So now we want to know the effect on accounting equation. The effect on accounting equation. That is very important. So when we come to our the effect on account equation, we can see now that the assets are not affected because we are talking of income tax. So income tax is an expense. We know incomes as well as expenses are under owner's equity. They are on owner's equity. So here we are not going to have any effect on assets. But when it comes to owner's equity, we are going to have what? The effect there on owner's equity, as the owner's equity is going to decrease. The owner's equity is going to decrease. That's why we give it that sign. It's because it's going to decrease. Why does equity decrease here? Income is because the reason is being income tax is an expense. So expense reduce profit. That is that. And you know very well that profit forms part of the equity. Profit forms part of equity or retained income. So when expense increase, the net profit decreases. So that is that. We're talking about this income tax. It's an expense. That's why we even debited it. So it's going to decrease our retained income. It's going to decrease or reduce our profit. That is why we are saying it's going to That's why we are saying it reduces our owner's equity. But on liability, because you have said SARS is credited. It's credited because we owe a SARS what it takes. So it means this here we're going to have what? Plus. Why does liability increase? Very important again. You have to ask your question that SARS or income tax is a liability account. When we credit liability account, it increases. So by crediting SARS, the company owns 75,500. Therefore, liability increase. So that is that. Hope we are to get on that. So this is the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for your time, grade 12s. Please make use of this presentation as it will help you very much for you to write your final examination as well as the term 1 test that you're going to write. Thank you very much.